Thank you for coming to my channel, Prison POV. Shout out to the joiners. Shout out to the point of view crew. And we're getting ready to kick it off with the viewer's choice, which is my personal video to do down here at Prison POV. How can I not love them? It comes straight from the point of view crew. You know how we do it. You know how we get down. I release a community tab talking about a viewer's choice. I request some questions, and you guys hook me up each and every time. Let's not waste any more time, and let's just kick it off with our first question. Now, this question, I'm not going to even attach a name to it because so many people have asked it, especially lately. And it's fitting we even lead off with this question in the viewer's choice because it's been so popular. And the question is, what's up with steroids in prison? Have you ever seen steroids available in prison? And I never have. And you never will, because it doesn't really make sense. You figure when they get contraband in prison, sometimes it's a struggle and a hassle to get in there, and they're not going to put time and effort into struggling a bunch of vials, a bunch of glass vials, and try to sell that, and then you would actually have to provide the syringe for them to do the steroids. It just wouldn't make sense on any level. So no, I have never seen steroids in prison. They're not going to waste their time with it. But I have seen people get arrested in county jail who were on steroids on the streets. And then they come into prison or they come into jail. They're no longer taking the steroids, but they're working out like a madman 3, 4, 5 times a day, trying to keep that buff physique that they achieved using steroids. And now no more steroids. It's just straight up hard work and blood, sweat, and tears. And they're losing. They're getting smaller. I've seen people get so stressed out and aggravated because no matter how much they're working out, they're getting smaller. So yeah, you don't want steroids, homeboy. That's the worst way you could possibly go. Next question. Angelo Cubel says, do you have to go to jail or prison to be a wood? No. You don't have to go to jail or prison to be a peckerwood. In Bakersfield, we have quite a few peckerwood cliques. We have ESP, Eastside Peckerwood, and we have OPW, Oildale Peckerwood, to name a few. And they have members within those cliques that have dudes that have not been to jail or prison. And actually, you're on a pretty slippery slope if you were to say that your particular Peckerwood gang, you have to go to prison to be a member of it. You'd be on a slippery slope. You'd be in trouble, actually, because there's only one prison gang as far as the whites go in the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations. And that is the AB. That's the only prison gang there is as far as the woods go, the AB. So you cannot come along and say, hey, I have a gang, and the only way you can be a member is to go to prison or jail because, hey, that'd make it a prison gang. And there's only one of those. So no, you can absolutely be a peckerwood without going to jail or prison. Next question is by Adrian. And he says, and this is actually a very good question, what is the status of BGF in the California prison system? Good question, because like I said, man, I have seen or heard of or know about dudes from the AB, dudes from the MA, dudes from NLR, the gamut, all the prison gangs. I've at least heard about a member being over here, over there, or what one of their members said or did. I've at least heard, if not seen, or know about in some way, form, or fashion. But someone from BGF, I have never heard, seen, or know of any existing member of BGF, of anything of any of them have ever said. I don't know anything about any of their members, old or current, living or unalived. I mean, I have no idea. Like I said, I know about all the others. Know of at least one member from all of the other big prison gangs, but I've never heard of no one from BGF. So I have no idea what their status is. Never heard about any of their members. But however, if they do have any active members left, they'd be walking the main line because all those prison gangs that were slammed down with the indeterminate shoe, they got kicked back out onto the yards. So if they're around, they'd be on the yard. I just don't know if they're around anymore or not. Volkswagen. What's up, homeboy? Volkswagen says, at what point did you know you were sick of going in and out of prison? Well, I always knew I was sick of going to prison. I mean, from Jump Street, it was no fun, and I knew, like, hey, this is not enjoyable. But when did I actually put effort in to, like, say, hey, I am no longer going to go back to prison? I remember the day it happened, because one of my homeboys got a hold of me. He's actually one of my brother's homeboys. One of my brother's friends hit me up. We're in the same area, and he wanted me to hit a lick with him. A pretty easy lick, actually. He wanted me to do a strong arm robbery on this fool. He was all jacked up. He was real loaded. He had all this money. It's almost like he got himself into the Black Widow web, because he's at one of our homegirls' house. Didn't even know it, that she was setting him up. She contacted us. I got this fool over here. He's slipping. Come over here and jack him. So dude hit me up. Let's go over there and jack him, Splinter. And I went over there and seen him. And it would have been an easy lick. It'd have been an easy victim. But at the same time, had I got caught, I would have got broke off a grip of time. And I thought, do I want to do this anymore? I discharged a P number. I discharged an F number. I'm on the streets. I got no warrants, no holds, no wants. Cops aren't looking for me. I think I'm just going to leave this alone. I think I'm done with this sort of life, with the strong arm robberies and the kicking up dust and doing these hardcore felonies. Hey, maybe get caught, maybe not. I'm done risking it. So Volkswagen, that's when I knew. When homie asked me to do that strong arm robbery and I got cold feet and said, Charlie Holmes, I knew right then there I wasn't going back. So Nick D says, can you be a part of the woods if you're an interracial relationship? Now, see, that gets real tricky. It actually gets tricky. If you are on the streets, you cannot be a Peckerwood and have, let's say, a black girlfriend or wife. If you are in prison, you go to prison, and you have a black girlfriend or wife, you're going to be a part of the woodpile because you're there. You're part of the woodpile. You're in the pen. You're there. So you're part of the pile, but they will not let you have access to your black girlfriend or wife. You will not be allowed to visit her. You have to just tell her bye and have nothing to do with her because you're going to have to be part of the woodpile, and they're not going to let you associate with that black woman, girlfriend or wife. However, white boys are allowed to date Hispanics, Asians, pretty much anything else, Arabs, pretty much anything I could think of. White boys can date, but they cannot date African Americans. And if you go to prison with, let's say, like I said, a black girlfriend or wife, you won't be allowed to visit her. You'll be a part of the woodpile, though. On the streets, no. You try to become a wood and like, hey, I got a black wife. No, ain't gonna happen. So it gets tricky. Again, another slippery slope. Justice says, tell us about making bangers, homeboy. He also asked about white lightning. I don't want to cover that this time. But I'll talk about the bangers. And I'll let you know that each and every time you go into prison, one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to get your hands on a banger, a filero, a bone crusher. Now, it just depends on the kind of banger you're going to have, what kind of weapon stock you stumble across. It's going to determine if you have a bone crusher, it's even worth a rip or not. I see a lot of people get desperate and resort to using state spoons. So the spoons they give you when you first show up with the cup and a spoon, the toilet paper and the tooth powder and the toothpaste, the fish kit they give you. They take a couple of those spoons and try to melt them together and put a point in a handle, but you can never get rid. They're always just flexible. You can never really make them solid, no matter what you do. But still, people resort to making those. I see people break off a piece of the fence. I mean, those are eh. When I was in Arizona, they were letting us have full toothbrushes. Those are awesome. Put a point on it. Make a handle. So it just depends on the weapon stock. The food trays inside the kitchen, the return, that's where you're going to get your best stuff off the food carts. Homie, the kitchen's where it's at. It just depends on what kind of weapon stock you can get. And that's going to determine what kind of filetto you're going to have. And weapon stock is not always easy to get. We've broken apart wheelchairs, we've broken apart crutches. The best shank I ever seen in prison came from the game Scrabble. It was the little wooden thing that held all the Scrabble alphabet letters, little tray things. What are those called? The little squares with the alphabets on them. It held the alphabet, the little wooden thing from Scrabble. They sharpened that sucker down to a razor sharp point. Add a handle on it. That thing was straight up with the business best prison shank I ever seen. Plus, it's made of wood. You're not gonna get caught up with the metal detector, and that's a plus. Moving right along, Junior, worst cellie you ever had. By far, the worst cellie I ever had was this old man, this homeless dude, this stinky bum that came in one night. And it was crazy how it went down because I was programming with this dude Trouble and this dude Axel. It was us three. Me, Splinter, Trouble, and Axel. Well, the day before, Trouble had come up on some meth from some people next door, next pod over, whatever. Came with some meth. And he's like, Axel, Splinter, do you guys want some of this? There wasn't really that very much there. And we're like, no, you go ahead and do it, bro. That's all you. So he did it. The next day, though, Axel came up on some Garaga. And there was quite a bit there, enough for three. But since Trouble had some meth the day before, me and Axel thought, no, we're just going to do all this. And it was actually quite a bit. It was actually too much. I actually found myself in my cell feeling like I was going to overdose. I did too much Garaga. And now my cellie had gone home a couple of days previous. I was in a single man cell. Didn't have a cellie. Later on that night, 11 o'clock at night, I get a cellie. I'm in my bed. I can barely even move. I'm overdosing. This dude comes in and he strips all the way down, butt naked, and starts working out. Squats, jumping jacks. Dude, shaking his balls and his nuts and his freaking sack hair all over the cell. Just bending over with this freaking butthole right in my face. And I'm just in my bed, pretty much unable to move like this. And he's running around naked, homie. And this went on for 3 or 4 hours until the unlock happened and we got out and we ended up blowing his ass up. But that is by far the worst cellie I ever had, homeboy. Homeboy Tim said, have you ever been asked to put in work with only a couple weeks left at the house? Well, I mean, sorta, not really, but kind of. When I was at Wasco A-Yard and I lived with that dude who had the felony willful cruelty to a child, I didn't check his paperwork. Kind of a long story, I've told it before, but he came from a CCF. I just assumed he had good paperwork. I didn't think you could be at a CCF with bad paperwork, with any kind of weird sex charge or anything. I thought they'd have to be behind the wall and not allowed to go to a CCF. I just assumed that from the prison he came from, he was good. I didn't check his paperwork. And by the time I ended up moving in with somebody else, then he got a new cellie, and they did look at his paperwork, and it was all bad, and he had to get got. I was going to be the one to get him, since I missed his paperwork the first time. And by the time it all came out, I was only a couple weeks at the house. It didn't matter. I had to get his ass. Now, when I was a Soledad, I was asked to, and I did, an assault with a weapon with only a month of the pad. I mean, I picked that up in February. I'm supposed to go home in March. 30 days of the pad, got an assault with a weapon. And another incident happened at the whole Soledad. I was getting real short of the pad. Gonna have to slice some dude on the yard. So, yeah, bro, short of the pad. It'll go down. Brandon Shearer, I believe that's what it says. Weirdest or strangest experience ever had on drugs. Now, today, I'm glad to say I'm sober. I mean, I smoked a little weed. I'm on the methadone program. But as far as hard drugs, Garaga and the meth and all that hardcore stuff, I've been clean off it for several years. I denounce that stuff. I rebuke it. I think it's trash. However, I do have a rough past. I have a history, and I used to try to kill my sadness and drown my sorrows with hard drugs. And I can't believe I never really shared this story before. But one time I was so high, I had gone to a friend's house. You have to walk into a back to go to his pads. I went to the back. He wasn't home. I knocked on the door. It was late at night. I come walking back out, and the sheriff was driving real slow. And he seen me coming from the back of the house and looked a little suspicious. And he started to slow down and check me out. Since the sheriff was checking me out, it made me nervous. I didn't want to get in my car and drive off. I figured he'd just flip a U, come pull me over. So I just started walking. I walked away from the pad. Thought I'd wait for the sheriff to leave the vicinity, go get my car. I fell asleep and was sleepwalking. I'm sleepwalking and talking. I got people with me I'm talking to. I end up going to a house about a half a mile away. I walk to, sleepwalking. Kick the door in to just some random house. End up picking the rose bush out of the flower bed in front of the house. Put the rose bush on the couch, covered it up with a blanket. Somehow got another blanket, and I laid down on the floor and covered myself up. Dude, I thought I was home. Kicked in the door. Thank goodness no one was home. I woke up to that sensation because someone had a 12 gauge to my face. The owner was not home, thank goodness, and I kicked the door in. But he showed up later, saw his rose bush on the couch, covered up the blanket, me on the floor in a blanket, and he got a shotgun. Homeboy said he was going to handle business. But he gave me the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, bro, I recommend sobriety for each and everybody. So Spike DWK says, what do they do with blind people in prison? Blind people in prison will get a walking cane, and they will also get a vest, like a green vest, that says on it, I'm blind, real big. The deaf also get them. And he asked if the blind would get harassed. No, definitely no one is going to harass the blind. You can't really be a bully in prison. They're obviously going to give you bottom tier. They're obviously going to give you bottom bunk, and they're going to give you every accommodation they can to help you out if you come in there with a disability. However, I know a dude named 5150 from my neighborhood. When he was in prison, someone threw bleach in his eyes. I don't know how they got bleach. I don't know if he was in laundry, what the deal was. Someone got bleach, and they threw it in his eyes. And you could tell by looking at him, his eyes were just all burned out. Like his pupils, they looked all, everything's just all weird and crazy looking from the damage from the bleach. And he's blind. He says he can kind of see shapes. But when he gets busted and goes to jail, he doesn't even tell him that he's blind. He doesn't get the green vest. He doesn't get the walking stick and the bottom tier and the bottom bunk and the accommodations. He just goes in there and roughs it, does the best he can. He's just one of the homeboys. He's walking there bumping into stuff, and he's just rolling with it. He doesn't want any help. He doesn't want any accommodations. So the homeboy John says, hey, brother, hey, Splinter, tell us about Oi. What's up with Oi? How do we use Oi? I don't know much about Oi, homeboy. What I do know about it is when I think of Oi, I think of Oi Chartbusters. It was a record. I used to listen to records when I was in junior high and high school. I'm a record player, and I remember they had records. It was Oi Chartbusters. It was like a compilation for a bunch of Oi bands because Oi is a type of music. It's also, I believe, a way to say hello, Oi, Oi, or maybe a way to say goodbye, Oi, or maybe if you get real excited, Oi. I think maybe it's a slang word. You could probably use it in several different situations and manners, I would believe, but I think it's a greeting. Oi! I know it's music, judging from the Oi Chartbusters. So that's about it for our viewer's choice. Was it good for you? It was good for me. I appreciate everybody that participated. I apologize to those I was not able to get to your question. It doesn't mean it was a good question. It means I'm saving it for another video, or maybe I'm saving it for a longer video because I want to expound on it. But be that as it may, I got none but the utmost love for the Point of View crew. And with that being said, I'm going to cut the string and let it fly. Peace.